So right at the heart of it all is where it's the students who remain central to everything that we do. What knowledge and skills do our students need in order to achieve specific desired outcomes? We always begin with that. Not so much to teach about what is it that you want your students to achieve. What is it at the heart of all that you do? It has to be the student. We then begin with helping them to understand what is it that they need as professionals in order to help their students achieve those targets, achieve those outcomes. And this is where it becomes a little more tricky, because very often to tease out what is it that they already know, you would think, oh, that's kind of easy to do. You know, what is it that they know? But to have teachers even begin to dialogue with you, and perhaps some of you are already doing that, to try and probe further and to elicit the response that will help you to make an informed decision as to what the next step would be. What is it that would help them to enhance their students' learning better? That's easier said than done. And I think that's something that we need to bear in mind. The teachers themselves may not be necessarily aware. We talk about the implicit knowledge of what is it that works for them. Then only can we start talking about deepening the professional knowledge and to refine their professional skills before we move in to engage the students in whatever we have designed, whatever we have conceptualized for them. Whether it's a new learning environment, whether it's a new strategy, or a technique or an approach to learning that we are adopting. The key stage in this cycle is also the impact of whatever we are doing on the outcomes and what is it that we have left the students with. Very often schools embark on many initiatives. 2 days ago we were at HQ where we were dialoguing with various officers from different divisions within the MOE that are all engaged in research. And one of the things that we were very concerned about is that too many of frameworks going around. There's such a thing as framework fatigue. And sometimes I think we are not careful. There may be one too many frameworks that we are adopting in helping our teachers to systematize what they are doing. And that's something that we are grappling with in MOE to try and see again what is critical, what is crucial for the specific task that you need to do at a specific time, and is there too much of that? I'd like to go on now to share with you the broader landscape that we've adopted in MOE with respect to the key areas that would guide us in our investigations with schools. Foremost, at the top is quality teachers and quality teaching. And what do we mean by this? Because the work that we do in ELIS, and I'm talking more about language and literacy contexts here, although the research thrusts apply to all areas of study within the MOE, because ELIS works with EL teachers and EL medium or content teachers, we have to take into account both groups. So when it comes to EL teachers, a lot of what you are engaged in, the pedagogy that is effective in an EL classroom, whether it's at primary, secondary, or JC, that would come under this band of research. At the same time, we are also very concerned in MOE about the subject matter content knowledge of our EL teachers. And some of you are heavily involved, I'm sure, in content upgrading, modules or courses, or investigations that deal with this area, whether it's grammar, whether it's phonetics, phonology. But what is it that our teachers need to know in terms of the subject matter base of knowledge? At the same time, in this band of study, we are also interested in capacity building of our own teachers in carrying out research. So that may trigger perhaps a new area of study for yourself. If you are interested in looking at ways to empower our teachers in their own investigative skills, what can we do together with the teachers in order to help them enhance their skills? Where the EL medium content teachers are concerned, we are very concerned with the disciplinary literacy competencies that they have. As a teacher of science, of maths, of geography, of history, of PE even, what is it that they understand about the discipline that would influence and guide them in the way they modify and adapt their own communication and discourse practices in order to impact their student learning? So that's a relatively new area for us in ELIS that we are involved in, at least a few of us are involved in. With regard to curriculum, of course many of you have heard about the 21st century framework that the ministry has adopted in many schools. So we are also very concerned to see how the current practices fall within this broader framework of 21st century skills, and also with respect to interdisciplinary work across different subjects. At the same time, as you would have noticed in the media, there's a lot of interest in early literacy and in the younger learners, and in particular with the preschool program that's coming up and the continuum between preschool and the elementary, primary levels, especially in the initial years in school. So that's another area that perhaps you might be interested to work with us at some point. In terms of assessment, I think some of you are already involved in different forms of studies here that deal with assessment for learning, holistic assessment, formative assessment. At the same time, we are also exploring other ways of assessment, even at the national level, maximizing on the available technology that we have. Also, above all this is assessment for diagnosing our students' needs and concerns, and the ministry is looking very hard at our low achievers and what is it that we can do in terms of language support, numeracy support, particularly at the lower levels. And I'm hoping that this will help you to see where your potential studies in the future could fall under and could be realigned with our own major strategic thrusts. When it comes to students with different talents and abilities, we are interested in looking at homeschool connections, which some of you have really embarked on. There are a number of interesting studies here by NIE, ELL. We're also interested in school versus the informal out-of-school learning environments. And social media plays a very important role here, so we'd like to explore that further, as well as differentiated learning for different kinds of students, not just our local Singaporean students, but the interplay also with the foreign students that are increasingly in our schools. Moving on now to some of the guiding principles that we share with schools to help them align what they are doing with the broader strategic thrusts. And I'm just going to go through this very quickly. A number of these, I'm quite sure that your own studies are also aligned to some of these principles. So of course, foremost is the relevance to our Singapore context in terms of improving teaching and learning. We are also interested in looking at not just existing data sets, but also prior research and existing or available studies that we have. One of the tasks that ELIS has is to work towards a central repository or a clearinghouse for all studies that have been conducted in terms of language and literacy-based contexts. So please do keep your papers coming and keep us informed as and when you do have studies that have emerged from your own investigations. We'll be happy to include this in our repository. Awareness of current and emerging theoretical frameworks and research literature, that's paramount in anything